Hey guys, it's Dan here with a new video, and today we're going to be finishing up the 3D printed Stormbreaker. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to add the handle on, we're going to paint the handle, and we're going to just show you all the finishing techniques and how to get everything secured, and my techniques for weathering and painting up stuff to make it look like Groot's arm. So let's go to the paint room. Alright, so when attaching the handle to the axe head, the way it can go is two different ways, but we're going to make sure that this nub lines up with the axe half. Put this on here, and slide on this way. So the axe head always has the nub pointing towards it. And that brings me to my next point. When you're making this, probably don't glue this top part on to this part before you get to this, because this nub makes it really hard to slide the head into it for it to fit. But you can see that this isn't the actual head that we're using. I'm using this to size up and make sure that I'm going to file and sand all these spots in here so that it fits in smoothly, and then I will put the actual one in there after this is all filed and sanded and able to fit it and painted and all that. And I checked for tolerances, unlike the last video. So then the other pieces, we can, you see how that's a little loose. Make sure you just get everything fitting. So the thing I was talking about with it making it hard to fit on, when you slide this on, that nub is supposed to go in between those two slots, and the plastic's sort of in the way, so it's a little awkward trying to get it to fit. So you probably don't want to glue this on when you're trying to size all this stuff up. Once you have everything primed, you want to make sure that all the spots that go together line up that you're trying to glue. But you don't want to glue all this together at once, because you have to get the head in there first. One thing I found out when I was doing this is that sometimes your printer might make things warp a little bit if you're printing all pieces separately, and gluing this to this piece, these two pieces together, and these two pieces together, it's a little hard putting the head in, but it sort of works. I would maybe recommend putting the head in after you get everything sanded, filed, and all the pieces fitting together. Just putting the head in here, then gluing the two side pieces on, then gluing the top on in two or three different steps instead of just doing two steps. You might be able to get away with it like this, but this might also scratch the paint because it's a little rough. And I also have a test piece when I'm trying to do it. So one thing also, it would be nice if you had a test piece, but it's a lot of waste of plastic if you do. But one thing that helped is these pieces, since they're a little warped, I used my heat gun very carefully to slightly bend some of these legs in and out when my printer had them slightly warped or something, like a hot day. I don't really know what happened. But we have all this. We're going to paint it brown and different shades of brown. If you look at the actual prop, there's some green highlights in the brown, and there's some yellow highlights in the brown also. So we're going to do a base coat of normal brown, and then we're going to start mixing some greens into it and some yellows into it, and we're going to make some washes and all that. So the deeper, darker parts are dark, and then it gets lighter and lighter on as it goes. And there's still some parts that are darker on the outside too, but we can all just play around with it and make it look good. So we're going to paint this, and then do all that, put that on there, glue this on, and then finish all these little spots with like some fillers and sand it and do our best to make it look good. Then we repaint over those little areas. That's the idea. Oh, in case you forgot, in a previous video, I'm pretty sure I told you that I used a rasp or a file to put all the texture on the bark. So if you are done making everything look smooth, then you can add more texture back to it with like a little rasp, and make sure the grain's going in the way that grain normally goes, and don't just do random patterns. So you want to do lines going up it. If you have no place to really rest it, I would recommend maybe doing a first coat on one part and one part where you can lean it against while it's drying with this light shining on it. So that way we don't have like a huge part that's like just gets pulled off like the paint when you pull it off with the chair or whatever it's leaning on, because this is actually a pretty big piece. So I'm going to let this dry the full time that's supposed to, which is a full day, and then I'm going to paint the other half so I can have this laying down while I'm painting this one. And if it really gets chipped, it's not really that big of a deal because this is natural paint and this is a lot easier to paint than metallic finishes. This looks exactly like a Tootsie Roll. We're going to start with putting some low lights in the cracks. We're going to take our black shoe polish and we're going to put some gloves on and get a rag or paper towel or something. Put it all on and then wipe it off and let it just fill in the low cracks. So we're getting just darks in the low places so it doesn't look just like a straight up Tootsie Roll and actually has darks in places. It's going to dry a little bit less gray than what it is. And we're going to do that to all of it. And then we're going to have highlights on it. So don't worry if it looks too dark. We want it to look a little dark at the first time. I mixed 3 different types of browns. One of them is a yellowish brown. One of them is a greenish brown. And one of them is just a brownish brown. And I took various brushes. First I did the yellowish brown and used a brush like this, coated, and I wiped it back and forth, but that was after I dried it out on this, so it was like dry brushing with a little bit of paint in there, getting it all over the edges. And then I went on to the greenish brown and did that up towards the top area, and then I did the brownish brown with a regular brush and just did it in the small grooves. And once it was dry in the small grooves ish, dry enough, then I started going over the whole thing so it would leave the brush texture over this so it looks like bark. So you see all the lines in there, and in the color you can see it looks stripy. So now after all the highlights are done, we might put some more on after the next step, but we're going to take a little bit of shoe polish and a really rough brush and just make it like a dry brushing all on the inside so we can get a little bit more of the low lights back into the lower parts. And we'll wipe away the tops so that the highlights stay. Okay, so upon close inspection, the brown actually has highlights of green and yellow in it, which if you look at it at this angle, you can tell, and it shows the bark texture really well. So we got all this looking like wood, and we did that mixing just 3 different colors of paint. So I got yellow, brown, blue. So I got brown, blue, and yellow. I used another brown, but brown's brown. So we got all those colors. You can see that my paint thing's a mess. Yeah, so we're going to make sure that all the parts that are going to get glue are going to be wiped down with acetone or sanded so that the glue bonds the plastic. After we do that, then we bite the bullet, line up everything, and see it all fit together. So we're going to get that. Okay, so we're at the point now where I took acetone and wiped the paint off of the tops of these, and we're at the really hard part mentally, really easy part physically, is where we're going to put the head in. So I already took the test head and put it on here and to see if the paint would rub off. The paint doesn't rub off, so that's good. Line this up. Remember in the last video I said that this nub fits on this side of the axe head. There, you see how that pushes past that? That's in that hole. That's lined up. Then I'm not going to record this because I don't really see how I can record it without freaking out because it's super glue. So we're going to just position these on here, super glue each point, make sure it's all good. So I'm going to do one side, the bottom first, and then the top side. I'm going to use a little bit slower glue, extra thick glue, because I want this to take a little bit of time and not just be instant and then dry up before I even get it on there. So that's the hope. All right, you wish me luck, and I wish you guys luck when you do it. After letting the glue cure for overnight, I took a little file. I filed down where all the pieces were glued together, and you can see that there's gaps in there that the super glue filled. So it's plastic to plastic glue, and then super thick super glue taking up the filling spots. So we're gonna just do exactly what we did. We're going to take some primer, some paint, and some other hand paints. We're gonna just apply them with a brush though. We're not gonna spray them on because that would be silly to spray them. So you can take your primer from a can, spray it into a cup, and then paint it on. You guys are paint masters now that you've finished this, so all that should get you ready for doing this. So you guys should be fine. You don't have to really see me do that with a brush. You should understand how that works. Alright, so this is it, and you can see that it looks really good, and all the detailed shots that we showed all the moss from Groot's arm and all the green and yellow highlights and all that. You know that I linked Henry's thing in the description. He's the guy that designed this, and he actually just finished making his light up and smoke model, which is the same as this, but it lights up and smokes, so it looks really cool. And you can see all that in his stuff in the description below, so all of his links are there. And you can also download those models yourself. You can download this model, and you can follow along. My tutorial will help you with this model. It will help you with some ideas on the other models also, but keep in mind they're slightly different for all the files because he redid all the modeling for every single thing that he did. So the one that has lights and smokes has all the internal things, and it's going to be assembled a little differently, but you can paint it with all the stuff that I show you here, and it should be fine because the plastic you use is what's going to diffuse the light, not really the paint. Paint still shows through pretty well. Yeah, other than that, with this, we have all the stuff that I'm going to make, and I'm going to make a short video for you so you can see all this, and it's just going to be one short video, so you don't have to like watch all the tutorials, and that's going to come out a little bit after this. That's all. So we have these things down here. It's people's names. They support me, and it's a Patreon. So if you want to help with stuff like this, like getting materials or helping with anything on the channel, you can click on the Patreon link, and it'll take you there, and it'll show you all the benefits. Check out the benefits there. If you want to not do that, then it doesn't matter. But you can also look over here and see videos. I might be making some other stuff or doing something else. And if you look over here, you'll see my channel and my Patreon link in case you're too lazy to look in the description for either of those. So we'll see you in the next video.